Hey guys, and welcome back to the channel. My name is Alex, and if you expected to see some how-tos on rust treatment with rust converters, primers, and whatnot, unfortunately it's not going to happen in this episode because I actually was this close to selling this car for parts because when I started cutting out, and you'll see it in a second, I found more rust in a place where I can see this sort of terminal in a way. It's sort of like a tipping point where you decide whether you should keep your car or get rid of it. Seriously, it just if you have a problem in that particular spot, it just kind of gets in an area where it becomes really expensive to fix, especially if you want to fix it properly, if you just want to restore the car, if you want to drive it. If you, like me, want to use it for track days, drifting, I think it's still salvageable in a way. It's not that car is going to be more dangerous, it's just the quite a crucial element in the car, I'll call it suspension, because it's part of the subframe. So if you know what the kidney braces are, and if you have a Z, you should know what that is. So they call either kidney braces, stay brackets, or anything along those lines. So basically, one part of the kidney brace, and I'll show you right here, is mounted to the stud that basically holds the subframe and goes like this. And the other side is mounted to the body of the car with two 14mm bolts. And basically, it kind of the way, well, I'm not sure about that for 100%, but I think the purpose of this bracket or brace, whatever you want to call it, to kind of give extra support to that stud. Because on the older BMWs E36 and E46, they have sort of similar structure of, and I mean it's common on old cars. Basically, you've got a long stud and you mount the subframe from the bottom. And with age, because of the load, even on the standard car, it's no M3 or anything, the studs, those studs start to ripping out. Like the subframe basically rips out the studs from the body, and there are different kits how you can reinforce that. And I think Nissan tried to sort of solve this issue with creating more like mounting points, so reduce the stress from the studs. So basically, if you have kind of like an extra mounting point that holds from the bottom, you have less flex in the stud, if it makes sense. But the problem is that with age, and especially here in the UK, the point where the bracket sits and mounts to the body rots away. And what you can find is when you try to remove the bracket, these bolts will start spinning, and this basically means that you should off the nut, because it's welded from the inside of the car, and it's not very repairable, let's call it that, because in order to get to that nut you would have to cut, well, at least part of the seal, which I've already done, and I'll show you in a second how it looks from the inside. But in order to fix that, you would have to cut a huge portion of your rear quarter in order just to get to those nuts if you want to weld them in and replace the mounting point properly, replace the entire panel. Or another option that one of my viewers actually suggested is to, even with the small section cut out, which you will cut out anyway if you have rust on your car and the seals are gone, so you will replace that anyway. You'll have that like access to that point. So the way to do it would be to drill those nuts out if they're still there, and basically drop 2 bolts. Well, yeah, this is the top. Drop 2 bolts from the top, from the inside of the car, so you would have 2 studs instead of nuts, and you would just bolt it with nuts from the bottom. And I think this is well, you would say, yeah, they'll spin, but you should weld them in the first place. But it's easier with the bolts. You can just weld them from the outside of the car. And I think this is the most cost-effective and reasonable ways of fixing it. You might say, yeah, it's not how the engineers engineered the car, and it might have some kind of side effects. I have no idea about that, but I think it's a viable option. But I think unless you repairing the entire panel, that side of the car has already been compromised and you can't really get all the rust out. So even if it's still sort of solid-ish, the mounting point at the back of the car won't be as rigid as it used to be. And it might last, it might not, I have no idea. So I've come up with another solution that might work, and I've never seen it done before, so take it with a grain of salt. I'm not the best fabricator ever, but I want to give it a try, because this project kind of slowly moving from quick drift time, sit time car into a guinea pig, where I just want to try and see if I can basically remove the kidney braces and create a W brace that would connect the chassis to the subframe, to the stud, and basically do the exactly same thing, but just get rid of this thing, because when we go under the car, I'll show you how it works and how it sits. And as you can see, like this point and this point is kind of like a huge discrepancy, and I'll show you why Nissan did this. But basically what I want to do is to make a pipe about this thick. So I actually measure it right now, and it's around 10 centimeters tall or thick, if you whatever you want to measure it in. But basically what I want to do is to take a pipe. I measured the subframe. It's 5 centimeters in diameter, so 50 millimeters if you want to be precise. Get it about this big, cut it, weld sort of similar nut. I think it's quite thick actually. I think it's around well, my eye meter is, I would call it 5 mil. You can check it yourself and post it in the comment, but the idea is basically have a pipe with the mounting point, and basically I want to make a W brace that would be welded to this pipe. So instead of mounting this section to the already compromised spot, I will move it a little bit further and mount it with a much thicker bolts, because I think the front bolts are maybe 18 or something. So, and the metal there is much healthier. So the idea is just to replace the mounting point. The downside that I'm currently seeing is that the point where it's going to be welded is going to be much lower, so it still might have some flex in it, but I think it will be negligible, and it won't affect the car all that much, and we will still have that extra mounting point for the stud. So we'll see. This is the idea. This is how it actually works, and the kidney brace or bracket is supporting the end of the stud, so basically making it like a cage, sort of. I don't know if you can see the shape, but from the angle you can see there is like a box, which is very rigid thing, and I think this is part of the reasons why there is still no cracks around the stud or anything dodgy going on. But as you can see, my crappy welds, this is where I started. I told you I should have just practiced on a piece of metal, but I was so eager to try because mine started to, even though they're still in place, you can see, probably you can see there are like threads in it. So because the actual nut is welded not to this outer panel but to the inside, and the inside is welded to this panel, so it's kind of a mess, and I'll show you how it looks from the inside and how sort of bad it is. I welded in part of the threads, so I'll have to re-thread it, but it's not such a big of a deal. It's just more work for myself. Anyway, my idea is relatively simple. As you can see, nope, the other way around. It's really tricky actually to do it with one hand. So this is how it sits from the factory, and as you can see, the stud is just showing up just a little bit. So my idea is to have like sort of just a pipe going all the way down, and the mounting point for W brace is just under there, and it's such healthier looking metal, like just look at there, and the actual bolts are much thicker. So my idea is to, as I said, have sort of a pipe here that will act as a mounting point of this brace. Oh, again, it's upside down. So it would go like this, but instead of mounting here, I'm planning to go all the way up there and basically weld a box, sort of like a whatever they call box pipe, I don't know, basically a rectangular piece of pipe that would go from there to here in kind of this looking way. And actually, if you look at the plank that I'm holding, you can see why the kidney brace has such an awkward shape, because this mounting point is much higher than that one, so they had to make, and the actual kidney brace is acting as a spacer in a way, to because the W brace is mounting to these 3 points, so it's already, it won't go any lower than it actually is. So my idea with the pipe won't make this the lowest point, because it's already kind of low, it just sits there. So technically it won't change much, but it might be a little bit more rigid. So I made a small 3D model of my future kidney / W brace. So if my idea with the kidney brace slash W brace, let's call it a hybrid brace, actually works. It's a great alternative to the always mess with kidney braces, W braces, because you have to buy them new and it's around £300. And again, you will still have to basically go in and repair the mounting points for kidney braces, which again, another God knows how much, because it's quite expensive work. So if it all works, it's great, and if it does, I'll make a sort of a blueprint and post it on YouTube or somewhere, so in free domain, so anyone would be able to fabricate one for themselves. And yeah, this is it. Hopefully in the next one I'll be actually making one. I'm still not looking forward to putting the subframe back in just to take all the measurements correctly. But yeah, this is something that I'll have to do regardless. And yeah, take care and see you in the next one.